Hi, Round Coffee here. Today I'm going to explain the rom-com Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Lock in and subtitles on, enjoy. At the start of the movie, Peter carries out his morning routine at home. He spends some time playing the piano and then makes breakfast. While watching TV, he stumbles upon an interview with Sarah Marshall, his girlfriend and a model. After receiving a phone call from her informing him of her imminent return, Peter rushes to clean his messy home, washes the dishes, and takes a quick shower. After finishing his shower, Peter sees his girlfriend in the living room. When she starts to speak, her tense tone hints that something significant is about to happen. When he asks her directly, she confirms his fears by telling him that she is ending their relationship. Overwhelmed, Peter drops his towel and begs her not to leave, asking for a moment to compose himself. Peter's girlfriend remains unimpressed by his actions and asks him to dress up and have a calm discussion about their situation. But Peter appears to have accepted the end of their relationship and pushes her to reveal if she has feelings for someone else. Although she denies any involvement with another person, she tells him that they have drifted apart and have different lifestyles. Peter attempts to reignite their bond by hugging Sarah, hoping to remind her of their relationship. During the embrace, Sarah discloses that she is involved with someone else and leaves Peter alone in the apartment. Subsequently, we find Peter and his stepbrother Brian in a bar. Peter admits to longing for emotional closeness with someone and requests that Brian be his wingman for the night. Later on, Peter converses with two girls about his work. He discloses that he recently went through a breakup and asks one of the girls to accompany him home. Though they become intimate, Peter's emotional state overwhelms him, and he breaks down in tears, struggling to move on from the memories of his 5.5-year-long relationship. Questioning his behavior, Peter asks if he's strange, to which the girl admits he was peculiar from the outset. The following day, Peter visits a doctor to request a checkup, as he had been intimate with a stranger, despite taking necessary precautions. While working one day, Peter comes across his ex-girlfriend's television program. The following morning, Brian and Peter's landlord visit Peter's residence, where he hasn't left in 2 weeks. When Peter opens the door, Brian barges in and observes that the house is in disarray. Peter has been incinerating all the photographs he had of Sarah. Peter announces that he still loves her, and Brian tries his best to comfort him. Despite Brian's attempts to remind Peter of Sarah's negative qualities, Peter still struggles to move on from her. In an effort to help, Brian suggests that Peter take a vacation to help forget about her and permanently deletes the pictures of Sarah from Peter's phone. In the next scene, Peter is shown preparing for his trip to Hawaii. On the flight, he unexpectedly encounters Sarah, causing him to feel uneasy, but he tries to keep his emotions in check. Upon arriving at the resort, he speaks with Rachel, the receptionist, about room availability. She informs him that the only available option is the Kapua suite, which is more expensive than what he had planned to spend. Peter feels uneasy when he encounters Sarah with her new boyfriend Aldous as she introduces them. Although Aldous invites him to join them for dinner, he declines. After they leave, Peter expresses gratitude to Rachel for her offer, but admits he cannot afford the Kapua suite. Rachel informs him that the suite is unavailable for purchase and offers it to him at no cost, provided he cleans up after himself. Later, Rachel calls Peter to ask about his crying, which has prompted complaints. Peter promises to keep it down. At dinner, Peter spots Sarah with Aldous and declines their offer to join them. As he leaves, Sarah asks if he followed her, and he denies it, saying that Hawaii is a place for fun, not following her. She wishes him a pleasant stay. Peter goes to a bar next, where he has a couple of drinks. The bartender understands him and encourages him to move on. Rachel comes and asks the bartender about his closing time. When she spots Peter, they have a friendly conversation. Soon after, Peter is crying while playing the piano. The next morning, Peter grabs a quick breakfast and goes to the yoga studio. During the yoga class, Peter joins Sarah and Aldous, although their presence annoys him. The yoga instructor praises Aldous for doing all the poses correctly, but embarrasses Peter for struggling with a difficult move. After the class, Peter goes for a surf lesson and bonds with his instructor, who advises him to move on from Sarah. Peter calls his friend Brian and confides in him about his difficulty moving on from Sarah. Although he's attracted to Rachel, he feels it's too soon to ask her out. During dinner, Aldous interrupts Peter and dedicates a song to Sarah, prompting Peter to leave the room to avoid them. He then meets a resort staff member who offers him a beer and a hug and encourages him to move on from Sarah by finding someone new. To distract Peter from his thoughts, the staff member invites him to help with cooking. Peter plans a day out with Rachel at the beach, and they discuss their past relationships. Rachel shares her experience with a cheating partner, while Peter talks about his work in a rock opera. Their conversation is disrupted when they encounter Rachel's ex-partner, which results in a violent altercation. Peter is rescued by the man from breakfast, and they go to a nearby bar. There, Rachel requests Peter to perform a piece from his Dracula musical. Despite feeling sad, he delivers an excellent performance that Rachel and the audience appreciate. Later, as they return to the hotel, Peter attempts to kiss Rachel, but she declines, stating that she doesn't want to complicate things. Peter accepts her decision and shakes her hand before departing. The next morning, Sarah gets a call that her show got cancelled, making her officially unemployed. She shares the news with Aldous, who asks her to come with him on tour. Sarah sits alone at the table and spots Peter, whom she calls over to tell him about the cancellation. Peter tries to calm her down with words of encouragement, and Sarah feels good after listening to him. She holds his hands and thanks him. Later, Peter is sharing his experience with Brian, but Brian refuses to listen. He tells Peter that he's doing the exact opposite of moving on. Liz, Brian's wife, suggests that Peter should think about how Sarah hurt him rather than the moment they just shared. The following scene shows Peter noticing Rachel, and they plan to go to a bar together. They decide to go on a hike before heading to the bar. Unbeknownst to them, Sarah is eavesdropping on their conversation and is disappointed that Rachel stole her opportunity to spend time with Peter. Later, Peter confides in Rachel about his desire to finish his Dracula musical, despite Sarah's lack of support. During their conversation, Peter expresses his pain over losing Sarah, and Rachel suggests they jump off a nearby rock. They engage in playful banter, and eventually they both jump off the rock and share a kiss. Later, Peter is woken up by the chef, who informs him that he needs to vacate the Capua suite. Despite being offered another room, which happens to be adjacent to Sarah's, Peter decides to stay and spend more time with Rachel. Peter decides to go surfing again before leaving Hawaii, hoping to catch a good wave. He runs into Aldous, who is also surfing, and they talk. During the conversation, Peter learns that Sarah had been cheating on him for a year. He becomes angry and hits Aldous, causing them both to be engulfed by a wave. Peter survives, but Aldous almost drowns. Peter manages to carry Aldous to shore, but he has a piece of coral stuck in his leg. As Peter removes the coral, Aldous loses a lot of blood, and Peter collapses from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Sarah talks to Rachel about Peter, and though she seems emotional, her tears appear fake. She thanks Rachel for being there for Peter. Peter awakens to find Sarah by his side and discovers that she has been unfaithful to him for a year. Despite Sarah's attempts to console him, Peter is not receptive, and they proceed to have a discussion. Peter inquires about what caused Sarah to cheat, to which she explains that his lack of self-care made it difficult for her to take care of him. Peter suggests that she could have put in more effort, prompting Peter to leave the room silently. In the next scene, we see Aldous getting ready. Sarah says that she thought he would wear the shirt she got him. Aldous says that he loves the shirt, but the one he's wearing is more appropriate. Sarah now has flashbacks from the past. She remembers how Peter loved all the stuff she got him. He told everyone about it and appreciated her. Sarah feels sad. Something she wanted was missing in this relationship. Aldous saw that Sarah was hurt, so he wore the one she got him. We then see the two couples in line for the dining hall. Peter and Rachel are standing there having a conversation. Aldous did appreciate Sarah's shirt, but he wasn't comfortable wearing it. He made it obvious that he hated the shirt. Peter requests to join Sarah and her friends for dinner, and surprisingly, she agrees. During the meal, Sarah discusses one of her films, which Aldous criticizes, causing an awkward atmosphere. As they consume multiple bottles of wine, Aldous shares his love for intimacy with anyone, while Peter expresses a preference for a deeper connection before engaging in such activities. Shortly after, a waiter arrives with a cake, and Rachel feeds Peter a piece with her hands. Witnessing this, Sarah feels a strong sense of jealousy, perceiving the vacation as an escape for individuals who struggle to cope with reality. Rachel perceives that Sarah's comments are directed towards Peter and attempts to alleviate the tension by feeding him another bite and kissing him. Later, as Sarah is laying down and Aldous is sleeping, they hear noises from the other room. Peter and Rachel are getting intimate in the adjacent room. Sarah feels jealous, so she insists that Aldous does the same. Aldous is not in a coherent state. Still, he agrees. Sarah seems to be competing with Rachel. When Peter and Rachel realize what is happening, they begin competing too. Aldous realizes that Sarah still has feelings for Peter and tells her that he made a mistake coming here. Sarah confesses that she hates Aldous's music, and he confesses that he cheated on her with the housekeeper the other night. Peter tells Rachel that he is going to Los Angeles in a couple of days. As he caresses her, he tells her that he loves spending time with her. The following day, Peter sees Rachel leaving for work and reaffirms his feelings for her. Rachel reciprocates and kisses him before leaving, agreeing to see him that night. In the morning, Peter decides to forego alcohol and feels satisfied with his current situation. He runs into Aldous in the lobby, who reveals that he is leaving for England and travelling alone as he cannot stand being with Sarah any longer. Later, Sarah reveals to Peter that Aldous sensed that she has not moved on from their past relationship. She expresses remorse for leaving him and tries to kiss him, which Peter rejects. When Sarah suggests rekindling their relationship and returning home, Peter wavers but ultimately refuses, unable to forget the pain she caused him. Peter concludes that he no longer desires a relationship with her and leaves abruptly after confronting her about her wrongdoing. Peter then meets Rachel in the entrance. He tells her everything. Rachel wants to hear the details, and Peter describes it. It hurts Rachel a lot, more than she could imagine. She asks Peter to leave right then. Following that, we see Peter lying next to the chef. He reminisces about his first outing with Rachel and an inappropriate photo of her that he saw in the washroom. He attempts to remove the photo, but the owner warns him not to touch it. He later finds Rachel and gives her the photo, but she tells him that she does not want to see him, and he leaves quietly. Peter proceeds to board his flight back home. Upon his return, he spends much of his time alone, composing music to express his frustration while working on the Dracula musical. He also spends time with Liz and Brian. Rachel receives an invitation to the Dracula musical event, which is well received by the audience. During the puppet show, Peter spots Rachel in the crowd and is delighted. The audience applauds and cheers, filling Peter with happiness. Rachel waves and applauds, adding to his joy. Peter is amazed that Rachel attended the event, while Rachel feels proud of his accomplishment and expresses her admiration for the performance. He asks Rachel how long she plans to stay in town. He suggests that they should meet up. When Rachel sees Peter, she tells him how much she has missed him. Just as Peter is about to reply, Rachel kisses him. The kiss gives Peter the comfort he's been seeking and feels like confirmation that they were meant to be together.